Hello and welcome to the Believe Show. This is one of those things, Ari. You try to time everything and then my camera goes out of focus. So I'll fix that before I actually say hello to the people with us today. All right. And hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Believe Show. I'm thrilled that Ari Meisel is here with us today, and I'm especially thrilled because I know him. I've been a client of his. I've worked with him. I've given him testimonials. I think he's awesome. I've read, I think, every book he's written. And let me show you his website just so you can find him afterwards. Ari, one of the best ways to find him, oops, there you go, is at lessdoing.com. Big fan of Ari and what he does. He helps people, especially entrepreneurs, get much better at what they do. So I'm thrilled to have him here, and we're going to talk to him about what he believes. Hi, Ari.
Hi, Sandy. It's always nice pleasure to see you.
You as well. We're going to start with something that we haven't tried here before, which is a few questions so people start to get to know you. So first question, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
Oh, a Marine recon sniper.
A Marine recon sniper? That's super specific.
Yep, that is the answer to that question. For a very long time, I wanted to be a sniper. I was, I'm not like a gun advocate per se, or not per se, I'm not, but I got introduced to shooting when I was at camp when I was young, and I just was a really good shot, and I liked it, and there was something fascinating to me about it, and that was what I wanted to be.
Awesome. What is one of your favorite foods?
Sushi. That's easy.
My daughter had a birthday yesterday.
I could eat sushi forever.
Her request was to have sushi rolls for breakfast, so we did it. That's awesome. And here's the third question. High school tends to be a challenging time. What was a good part of high school for you?
Graduation. I was not a fan of school. I did not like school. Academically I did fine, but I could not wait to get out of school. So yeah, graduation was like, so long, suckers.
The end. Awesome. Well, Ari, the biggest thing I want to chat with you about today is, what is it that you believe that others in your field would disagree with you about?
My whole framework and methodology now is really around the idea of being the replaceable founder, right? And being as replaceable as possible, which I take to an extreme, I think, in some cases, but it's something that I think a lot of people sort of push back on, where they want to be irreplaceable, and being irreplaceable is like the worst possible thing you can do for yourself, for your family, and for your business, because I mean, I'm sure we'll get to this, but it makes you stuck. But that's a big one. When I talk about, being more replaceable, sometimes or a lot of times people react with like, why in the world would I want to be replaceable? Didn't you mean to write irreplaceable?
That's awesome. You messed up in your marketing, and what you really meant was this. So tell me, what is...
Right.
You're so shoddy at being replaceable that you actually messed up in your marketing. That's the message you get back. So can you give me an example of two kinds of people? So people who really do buy into this as soon as you give them the message of replaceable founder, and people who are super skeptical. Go in either order that you want.
Yeah, so it really comes down to mindset. I mean, the super skeptical ones, a lot of times they are more of, I was about to say they're more of the employee mindset, but that's not actually true. It really comes down to ego in a lot of cases, right? So a lot of times you have people who just feel like the thing that they do for the company, or the task that they perform every single day, even if it's something that should be completely automated or shouldn't happen at all, they do it. So that's what makes them valuable. It's very, very much like that thing in the movie Office Space, where they're trying to understand what this guy does, and he's like, what's wrong with you people? Like, I talk to the engineers, like and then I talk to why don't you get it? It's because, you don't actually do something that's valuable, but it's so ingrained in who you are and what you are and everything about your personality that it becomes very hard to separate from that. And I've rarely met an individual that had that experience where it was true that the thing that they were doing like filling out forms or something was the thing that made them unique and special. And if anything, it was just getting in the way of those really unique talents and what they could actually do, but they were too afraid of that. And the idea of being replaceable is very scary for some people, because if they get replaced, then why do I matter, right? The ones that are fascinated by it, I would say, and the ones that really want it, usually they just respond with like, yeah, I need that. And if you push to sort of understand why, you get to a point, I feel like, and everybody has experienced overwhelm at some point in their life, whether they're in business or not. It's just, we all have some way of experiencing overwhelm, and either it's a traumatic event or just general experiences and things like that. And you get to a point, I feel like, where people sort of split into two paths on that side as well. And one path is, I just need more time. I'm good at what I do, and I'm making money, and I just need more time. Just need more time, which is an impossibility, right? So right away we got a problem. I've never met anybody who had more than 24 hours in a day. And then you have the other people who recognize that they were unique when they started the business, because it was their idea and their ideas that spawned it and let it grow. But at some point, they become the thing that stops it from growing. And they need to get out of the way if they truly want the idea to grow beyond them.
How did you come to this idea? The idea of, look, what founders really need to do is to become more replaceable.
So the way the last doing started was, effectively, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness called Crohn's disease, which is considered being curable, all these sort of various things. But ultimately, the experience for me was that I went from working 18 hours a day to really struggling to get an hour of work done on a given day. And I just need more time, right? Well, but the question at that point is, what would you do if you could only work an hour a day? And an hour a day is so restrictive by all our mental standards, right? That at that point, the question really isn't what would you do? It's what wouldn't you do? And if the things that you wouldn't do still need to get done, then who or what is going to do them for you, right? Who or what? That's not you, right? So basically what you're doing is you're separating the work product in some ways, or the machine, from you, from the mind. And I don't mean to be too ethereal about it, but it's kind of what it is. Because if you say this is work that needs to get done, it's not that I have to do these things. It's that these are things that need to be accomplished. These are milestones that need to be hit. These are sales calls that need to be made. These are graphics that need to be designed. These things have to be done. It has nothing to do with me ultimately. I want to weigh in, and I can help, and I can make decisions, and I can maybe push things forward. But ultimately, there is a task over here that needs to get done. And then there is my brain and my ideas over here, and they certainly can intersect, but they're not the same thing. So that's a really important realization. And the other thing about it, which I think is the most critical thing, is that the same person that says that they just need more time, if you actually look at what they're doing and how they're spending their time, they usually have too much time. Parkinson's law tells us, right, that work will expand to fill the time completed, or allow it to complete it. And we see that happen all the time. And so ultimately what people really need is less time. They need more restrictions. And that is where innovation comes from. I do not believe that 99% of the population can possibly innovate if they don't have some sort of restriction in place. A blank check is a very bad thing for many people's minds.
Yeah. Yeah, a theater teacher explained that to us back when I was in high school. It's sort of, if you put a small number of items on a set, you can really work with it. If you fill up your set, it's a mess. And I've kind of carried that through, but I totally see what you mean. If you, unlimited time, unlimited waste of time is possible.
100%. There's so many stories, expressions around this. You want something done, give it to a busy person, right? I think Bill Gates said that. Or there's the story of, I think it was Casanova, wrote a letter to his father, and at the very end he said, "I'm sorry the letter was so long. If I'd had more time, it would have been shorter."
Yeah, totally.
Right. So time, the way that people approach their time is so relative. And I guarantee you, you look at something that you do that takes 45 minutes or an hour, and if you only had a half an hour to do it, I promise you would get it done. If the meeting would only take a half an hour. It would only take you half an hour to write the blog post, whatever it might be. But the thing that bumps up against for many people, is definitely where the belief stuff comes in, is that it like flies in the face of their freedom, right? And especially for entrepreneurs, that's a big red flag, because we all became entrepreneurs because we wanted freedom. Right? We didn't want to be working with a boss or with a team we didn't like, or have debt or whatever it was. We wanted the freedom to run our own show and be our own boss. But that's freedom from. That's not freedom to. Right? So we're escaping it's called the liberty paradox. That's the name of it. Ultimately, we want to have the freedom to do things, and the only way to do that is to make yourself more replaceable.
What's an example of someone you've worked with who you just felt got it and made the changes really fast? It doesn't matter whether you use the name or not, but just what is an example of someone who really got it and really changed it to being his or her work style to being a replaceable founder?
I mean, there's so many. Honestly, I've been really fortunate to have worked with some really incredible entrepreneurs and executives and everything sort of in between. But usually what will happen is that you have somebody who's just so underwater, right? And that sort of represents the overwhelm. But when you're underwater, literally underwater, right? The only thing you're thinking about is breathing. That's the only thing that matters at that point. Nothing else matters, right? And you get people that are just so laser focused on this thing, that they're doing, that they're pushing forward, they're working on their tinkering, they've got their head down, whatever you want to call it. They just don't take the time to take their head up out of the water and see where they are. And the biggest transformations with me are the ones where the person gets a moment to put their head above water and just see what's going on. And that, in many ways, and I don't know if you've experienced this as a coach, but that is usually the hardest thing. Once you get them to see, that to me is like a downhill play. But getting them to stop and get their head up for a moment is the hardest thing many times. Because it's like, no, I'm almost there. I just need to be. I just have to dig faster. I'm almost there, and then they die.
And then we're 80 and 90 years old. Yeah. So you're saying someone who has done this really well, it's after they've figured out, okay, I know I'm in overwhelm. I know I'm underwater, and here's what the situation really looks like if I step above that.
Yes. The expression that I always refer to is you can't read the label from inside the jar.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The coaching thing.
And the thing is that oftentimes you need to break the jar to get out of it.
So if people were to, if people are completely new to your ideas and they're hearing them here for the first time, what is the first thing they should do?
So the framework, the original framework of Less Doing, which still applies, is OAO, Optimize, Automate, Outsource. And that first step is optimize. So what that really means is looking at how you do the things that you do now. And that sounds simple, but most people just don't do it, right? So I'm like full of metaphors today, but you think about like a relay team, right? I don't know if you ever run track. I used to in high school. Somebody is running along with the baton. They hand you the baton, and you keep running in the same direction. And that is what usually happens in most businesses. Like, well, we've been doing it this way for a long time, or everybody you see this with like lawyers and accountants and professional services a lot, and doctors and things. It's been working for 50 years, right? So we'll just keep doing that. And maybe we'll improve on it a little bit, but we're just going to keep going in this direction. It's a lot harder, and it takes a lot more effort in many cases to stop and be like, well, maybe I actually should go this way. And in doing so, not always, but in doing so, maybe I have to take a little dip in my revenue. Maybe I have to see a few less clients. Maybe I have to, slow down to be able to see action. Because ultimately, technically speaking, I'm a productivity coach, right? Because that's the word that everybody knows. But productivity is the wrong pursuit. in modern day society, in my mind. Productivity is about producing more, right? Efficiency is about producing more with less. That sounds great, but that's not it either. What I help people do is become more effective, which really means being successful in achieving a result that you're trying to achieve with the minimum amount of input, right? So the point being, if I want to make $1 million, do I want to do it with 5,000 customers and transactions, or do I want to try to do it with 3? Right? I mean, it seems like a pretty obvious answer, but it takes a little bit more time. It's a lot easier to be like, yes, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. It's harder to stop and be like, no, 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 oh, maybe.
2 ending questions. The first is for people who are with us today. What is a thought that you would like to leave them with?
For people who are what?
Who are here with us today.
Think about the word every. So start looking for uses of the word every in your life and in your interactions with your business partners, with your employees, with your spouse, and with your kids. The word every should start to become a trigger for you that there is something that you're doing that is repetitive, right? So every time this, then this. Every time we get a new customer, we do these things. Every time we get a new report card from school, every time we buy groceries, right? The word every should be a trigger for you to today say, hey, we're doing something over and over and over. This is a part of our life. Maybe it's something that we could do better or do without, maybe, or automate, or eventually, hopefully, outsource. But just start watching out for the word every. That's a big one.
What's one of the last everys that you've caught yourself in your life?
Great one. In my life, I'd say it's probably every time I make them, every time I take the kids to school. Not the most efficient process in the world, but I've gotten way, way better at it. A lot of pre-planning, a lot of putting things in the car before they even have a chance to wake up. And that may sound trivial, but something that people have to keep in mind here, and this is an add-on here, is that the entrepreneur's mind is one piece of meat, quite literally. So if you feel like you don't need to focus on saving personal life or making things more efficient in personal life, you're fooling yourself. Because the most efficient business doesn't mean that you get to go home and relax, right? So putting the focus on anything in your life is a process, and there are a lot of things. And recognizing that is going to have a big impact on everything that you do.
Thank you. And the last question. If you could snap your fingers and almost everyone in the world were to take some action, what would you want that action to be?
Great questions, Sonia. Really good questions. Probably to be able to gain a lot of, to gain a sense of self-awareness. Really, to be aware of what they are doing, because ultimately that's the only thing that we can control. It'd be really easy to be like, oh, everyone should be more kind to each other. That'd be nice. But I think some self-awareness, because it takes a truly like deranged person to see something that they're doing really badly and not at least attempt to do something about it, right? Obviously, we have people who are alcoholics or drug addicts or have chronic illnesses, and they fail, but at least they can try. But self-awareness is the biggest piece. That would give anything that would be a superpower for me, is to be able to be more self-aware.
The superpower of self-awareness. It's a good one. It's not the one most people pick, flying and visibility, but the superpower of self-awareness. Ari, thank you so very much. It's been wonderful being with you today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Great to see you.